Hello everybody, Sunday Adelaja back here. So today I'm talking on the topic, is your church a cult? That is $1 million question right there. Is your church a cult? Sometimes the truth is scary, and I'm sure to a lot of people the truth about this is should be very, very scary. So how do you know if the church that you have come to call your church, if the church that you are attending is actually a cult? So how do you recognize and how do you separate? How do you separate a cult from a church? The first sign that you are going to a cult and not a church is if the church sees members as their property. That is, they view you as if they own you. If your church relates to you as if you belong to them, as if they own you, as if you are their property, then you are not in a church, my dear. You are in a cult. God does not allow and does not give room for any organization or any group of individuals to claim ownership over God's sons and daughters and God's creation. Now, what are the other signs that we need to look for to see if your church is a cult or not? If you need permission to go somewhere, if you need permission to go somewhere, I'm not talking about the, duty, job description, that kind of thing, right? Or responsibility, when you hold a position of responsibility. That's not, but when leadership or members of that church, when you will need, especially members of the church, if you need permission to do something or to go somewhere, you don't belong to a church, you belong to a cult. I have heard of stories like somebody wanted to travel to England for business, and the person would have asked the pastor for permission, but because it was Thursday, it was on Sunday, it was in church on Sunday, and this was Thursday, and he just got a call from his head office that he has to travel from Nigeria to England. So he traveled Saturday, and then he was in England when somebody was calling and said, "Pastor wants to talk to you." Okay, what's the problem? Why are you not in church on Sunday? This is Sunday, service is finished, why are you not in church? He said, I've traveled. What? You report here, you have to report to the office, pastor's office. Tomorrow, it's next day, Sunday, Monday, you have to report. He said, I'm here for a week seminar. No, you have to report to the church. Okay, if you cannot come here, as soon as you get back to Nigeria, the first thing you have to come and see me and give report why you have to travel without permission of your pastor. What is this? What kind of craziness this is? In some cases, if you go without pastor's blessing, you are at risk that anything can happen to you. So people are now living in that fear that they dare not even try to travel without pastor's blessing, because they now believe it that something will happen to them if they go without. So they have been, instead of love being sown in people, fear has been sown into the heart of the people. People's heart and life has been hijacked by fear. Pastors, how could you make people to be asking for your permission? Are you their owner? Do you own them? Are they your property? People, you are not a property of any pastor. You are not a property of any church. You are not a property of any denomination. And don't count yourself as such. You belong to Jesus, that's all. Anybody that possesses or controls or attempts to control your will is turning you into a slave. When your will is under question or under the submission or under control or under the ownership of any individual, it means that factor by itself makes you a slave. And it makes that organization either a cult or a slave plantation. And you know that even God himself will not control the will of a man. Number 3 sign that you belong to a cult, not a church, is if you are always being pressured to do things. Go and serve there. Go and do this there. Go and clean the church. Go and do this. Pressure, you cannot escape. If they are putting unnecessary pressure on you to to conform to their own demands. Pressure to give, pressure to do what you don't want to do, pressure to come or to be like others, pressure to do exactly like the church wants you to do. You belong to a cult or cult. Now cult you belong to. I'm sorry for spoiling your mood today. And maybe it's not very pleasant. Next point. Even if you are simply on your own, afraid and living under the fear that, oh, I don't want my church member to know. Oh, I don't want my church to hear about it. Oh, I don't want my church to do that I'm like this. Oh, that I'm friendly with this. Or that I'm going to this. Or that anything that you are doing in your own private life and you are afraid. Not like sin or, to this about God. Not afraid of God, but afraid of church members that, oh, your church might not understand. If I will go to that to visit that my friend, hey, it belongs to another church. Or, oh, if I will go there and walk it up, oh, I don't want my church member. If you are under constant fear of your church members, that you don't want your church to disprove or disagree of you, you don't want your church to know that you are having your own opinion, that you are having your own mind, you are always in fear that, oh, what will my church people think, or what my pastor think, what will my church say, that fear itself is a sign that you belong in the wrong place. Next point. If they demand for your time and life without your own consideration, okay, for example, there is somebody who was doing a surgery. This was a surgeon. He was conducting surgery in the hospital. And then his pastor called him. And he said, I cannot talk now because I'm, the secretary was calling, saying, you have to come and see pastor now. I'm doing surgery. I'm in the theater. I'm doing surgery. I'm conducting surgery. They said, pastor is calling you, say you are surgery. Pastor, the senior pastor is the one calling you, the bishop. And you say you are surgery. Then the pastor himself took the telephone from the secretary and said, you have to resume here now. And the man said, the surgery is still at 2 hours more to go. And to resume here now, the patient will die. I will go to jail. But he said, you have to come now. So the guy came 2 hours later after the surgery. They sanctioned him, punished him. And they are saying, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Sorry, sir, yes, sir. That is not a church. That is a cult, my dear. So all these things show that you belong to a cult and not a church.